being honored to be a small part of the work that this organization does to advance peace through interfaith understanding and dialogue. I'm also honored to be here this particular year, which I know is a momentous occasion for the Universal Peace Federation because it is the centenary of the birth of the co-founder, Reverend Dr. Moon. And I certainly note, as we all have noted from earlier, that under the continued leadership of Dr. Akjahan Moon, that you have a more momentous program, a more ambitious program than ever. Distinguished delegates, today I've been asked to speak about peace building and the process of peace building with particular emphasis on the ongoing efforts of the Trump administration and its allies to advance the cause of peace on the Korean Peninsula, to prevent the further nuclearization of North Korea, and to encourage the evolution of the Kim regime away from its rogue state status. Now, given the number of speakers we have and their stature, I'm going to endeavor to be brief. Last year when I was here, and this new peace initiative appeared to be getting some momentum, I offered several pieces of advice. I'm just going to recap those briefly. My first was to be gentle as doves and wise as serpents. That is to have peace in your hearts, our hearts, but wisdom in our heads. And that wisdom to be shaped by realistic expectations based on the past and current behavior of the Kim regime. Second, from that, do not put faith in their words, but only in their actions. Third piece of advice was to bring hard power assets to the table, to convey both credible promises and credible threats, and be genuinely prepared to deploy them. And fourth, I said, do not merely involve the Chinese, hold them accountable. The North Korean regime could not exist without overt Chinese support, and it could not continue to threaten its neighbors without tacit Chinese complicity. Fifth, beware of any role that might be played by the Putin regime. Certainly my experience, I know the experience of my allies, suggested that at almost all times that regime will be systematically unhelpful. And finally, my advice, particularly to our Korean friends, is to stay close to your allies. By that I was not merely saying that the Republic of Korea should stay close to the United States of America, but that Korea should also endeavor to have the same closeness with the state of Japan. Whatever the historical justification for the tensions between Koreans and Japanese, and I'm very well aware of the history, such tensions and animosities are not in the interest of either nation today. I added my belief, and by the way, something that I have repeated in Japan itself, that I believe South Korea, as well as Australia, should be admitted to the G7 group of nations in order to create a stronger, truly global economic and geopolitical forum for the world's major democracies. In this regard, I just want to spend a moment to particularly congratulate Dr. Moon and this organization for its bold and forward-looking call this past October for a new solidarity between South Korea and Japan. Now, I'm not going to attempt to rate how allies have performed in relation to the principles I laid out. I think it can be said safely, without much debate, that what was cautious optimism at this time last year is probably cautious pessimism this year. Nevertheless, while President Trump's initiative has not been successful in achieving real progress toward denuclearization and reconciliation, the efforts deserve to be congratulated. First, because they have been bold. President Trump's decision to meet with Leader Kim, also I would add with this, President Moon's assembling of a joint Olympic team, these were both grand gestures that demonstrated a genuine desire for peace and reconciliation. And in my view, such grand gestures are a necessary part of any real reconciliation and peace-building process. But such grand gestures need not involve foolish risks. And in this case, the gestures that were taken by our allies, in my judgment, were not risky at all. There were no costly unilateral concessions, especially on sanctions. That has been, as many of us know, that has been done in the past. On occasion it's taken us nowhere, but too often it's actually taken us backwards. In this case, the wise refusal to make unilateral concessions has once again exposed North Korea's genuine lack of desire for peace and reconciliation, and indeed has also its unwillingness to date to reciprocate any goodwill through enhancing family reunifications or economic exchanges or even enhanced tourist visits. But I would say that the Trump administration has not only refused to engage in dangerous unilateral concessions, it has also done something very necessary for peace building in the long term. And I know this is probably what many of you do not want to see in the short term, but I think it is essential in the short term, and that is it has restored the credible threat that the United States possesses to eliminate the North Korean regime at any time of its choosing. That should provide real limits to the kinds of risks that Leader Kim, or who I call Kim III, may be willing to take. Now, all that said, where does this leave us today? In effect, it leaves us where we have really been for many years now. A posture of containment, perhaps even one could say strategic patience. The North is dangerous, but the danger does appear to be contained. And we should have the patience, to know that this regime cannot endure indefinitely. Why not? Because it is a regime that has no achievements. Nuclear weapons do nothing for ordinary people, and the regime represents no hope. The regime serves neither God nor humanity. The regime cannot provide either the pleasures or even the necessities of life. It will thus become clear, eventually, I think even to its own leaders, that the North Korean regime has, in fact, no real purpose. Of course, allies have to lock arms in common pursuit of containment and deterrence, and in the common hope for eventual and, I think, inevitable reconciliation. Now, obviously, today I do not speak for the Government of Canada, but I have no doubt that Canadians will continue to work hand in hand and shoulder to shoulder with our South Korean, American, and Japanese friends in these shared objectives. I say that because the bonds of friendship and alliance, first forged in the shared sacrifices of the Korean War, and now sustained by common democratic values, strong people-to-people ties, and economic relationships that are enshrined in a robust trade agreement. They are going to a series of robust trade agreements. They will ensure that we stay close. And in the meantime, the constant efforts of civil society led by this organization, the Universal Peace Federation, to bring about reconciliation between religions and nations, and especially between Koreans north and south, will be more important than ever and will lay the groundwork for eventual success. And the day that comes, the day that success comes, I believe the North will begin to attain all of the wonderful and amazing progress that we have witnessed and that we continue to witness here in the Republic of Korea, one of the truly great human miracles of the post-war era. Thanks again, President Jonathan and the Universal Peace Federation for your invitation, for your attention, and I look forward to any discussion we might have. Nelson.